All right. Now, last week, what did we talk about? Does anybody remember what we talked about last week? What did we talk about last week? Okay, better question. What is this class for? What's the class for? What's the class for?
Confirmation.
No, first communion. And what else?
First resolution.
Reconciliation. Okay, what does those things mean? What is first communion? Sacraments. Exactly. So what is that sacrament? Does everybody know what that sacrament is?
No.
First communion. What is that sacrament?
Communion.
Hold on. Go ahead. Go ahead, Martin. Yeah. What is it? Communion, right? What is communion? What happens in communion when we go to Mass? What happens? What do we do?
We eat the bread.
We eat the bread and drink the blood. Now, when does that happen? Does anybody remember? When Father holds up that little white piece of bread, and then he holds up the cup, and it's got the wine and a little bit of water in it, and he breaks it and holds it up again. Okay, that's communion. Now what is communion? Does anybody remember what we said is what is communion? Or I should say, better question, who is communion?
Right?
No. Who is communion? Who is communion?
God.
Namely who?
Namely Jesus.
There you go. There you go. That's the answer. So what was, all right, where was I at? Where was I at? I got totally sidetracked. Where was I at? Communion. Okay. Now, before we take communion, okay, we have to learn what we're talking about, right? What is it? What is it, Kayla? Just save it if you don't want it. Okay. We have to know what we're talking about, right? So that's what the class is for. Now, that is this part of the class, right? First communion. What is first reconciliation? What else do we call that? No, do we know what we call first reconciliation?
Grace.
No. Confession, right? Now, confession is how we have our sins forgiven after baptism. Does anybody remember your baptism? I know you two will because you were baptized a little old. There he is. Hey, we moved it around a little bit, bud. So find a spot. Actually, there's a seat down there, and I'll swap your books around, and we'll right down there, on if you can make it in there. You need to go to the restroom? Okay. There we go. Now we got it squared away. Now we're good to go. Yeah. Yeah, you can come through. Come around this way. Just come around this way.
Or you can just go under the chair.
I don't even have to do that. If we can help it. There he is. There you go, bud. All right. Okay. Now. Okay. All right, everybody, listen up. Listen up. Yes, ma'am. Just wait a second. Riley's gone. When she comes back, you can go. Okay. Now, confession, which we didn't talk about it as much last week, so we're going to talk about it a little bit right now, and we are going to learn about that in this class when we get down the road a little bit. But confession is how our sins are forgiven after baptism. Okay? And these things that we're all talking about are called what? Sacraments. Right. Now, what do sacraments equal? Did anybody remember what sacraments equal? Grace. Exactly. What does grace do? What does grace make us? Holy. Very good. That is the whole reason for the class. Okay? Very good. We have sacraments which give us God's grace, which makes us holy. And if we're holy, when we die, where do we go? Heaven. Exactly. That's exactly right. Now, last week, we started talking about something that probably didn't sound a whole lot like First Communion, did it?
No,
What did we talk about last week?
I don't know.
Yeah, you do. If you think about it. We talked about a certain people, right?
God.
Well, yeah, quit just yelling things out. Okay. We talked about God's people. What were their names? Does anybody remember? You have a book in front of you. Everybody open up. Everybody open up.
So what page?
Pages 5 and 6. Go to page 6. Okay. Page 6. All right. Okay. God's chosen people were called the Israelites, right? Okay.
I got on 6. I don't know.
You're on. Well, then flip back one page. And flip back. Flip back one.
No, look.
That's up to you. It don't matter to me.
Look.
Right there. Right there. 7, 6, and 7. Okay. Okay. Now, we talked about the Israelites, right? We said they were enslaved in Egypt. Remember we talked about that? We talked about Moses and who Moses was. Okay? Moses was the leader of the Israelites. Okay? All right? Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt. But before he did that, God sent what is called plagues. Remember we talked about plagues? We talked about the locusts. Does anybody remember about the locusts? What I said locusts were? What were locusts? What were they like today? What we have today? Like grasshoppers, right? God sent these plagues to tell the Pharaoh, who was the leader of the Egyptians, okay, that he needed to let God's people go. Okay? Now, we talked about that last week. What did we talk about was the 10th plague?
The blood.
No, that's not what it was.
Why are you holding up your hand?
I'm trying to remind you guys.
Painting.
Well, that's what we talked about. But there, we talked about the Passover, remember? We talked about the angel of death was going to, the firstborn son will die in the 10th plague. Okay. But Passover, if the Israelites did what God commanded, the angel of death would pass over their house and their firstborn sons would not die. Remember the spotless lamb we talked about? Remember they had to kill the spotless lamb and eat it. Remember they had to eat it as part of a meal? Okay? They had to eat that, remember?
They couldn't just eat a few cookies.
Right, they couldn't just eat a few cookies. And remember we talked about they had to paint the doorposts with the blood of the lamb, right? See, look in the picture on page 7. Remember the picture on page 7? What's he got in his hand? A paintbrush, right. Now, it probably was not a paintbrush like we think of a paintbrush today that you'd go pick up at the hardware store. You know, he probably had to make it out of stuff, but the red paint looking thing that he's using there is the blood from the lamb, right? Okay? It's the blood from the lamb. Where are you going? Okay, well then you ask next time. Remember, you're in a class. Okay? But he painted the lamb, he painted the lamb's blood above the door and on the sides, on the doorposts. So the angel of death would know to pass over. And and what did we kind of refer to that as? Remember when I drew this? What is this? It's a stop sign, right? And I said that the Israelites painted the blood over as a sign to show that they obeyed God. Remember all that? Okay, all right. Now we're going to get into a little bit more about why we talk about Passover. Okay, everybody go to page 8. Next page. Next page. Okay. All right. Now, I wanted to have another book. Okay. Now look at the picture on the page on page 8. Okay? That don't really look a whole lot like a lamb or anything like that, does it? No, it doesn't. Okay? Jesus is the true sacrifice. Okay? All right? Remember what we said that the Israelites had to do with the lamb? They had to sacrifice it, right? Okay? They had to kill the lamb and eat the lamb and use his blood, right? And they sacrificed it. Okay? Which means they gave it up. It's something they could have used. They could have used the wool that the lamb would have made for clothing and things like that. But no, once you kill it and you eat it, you don't have it anymore. So they had to sacrifice it, right? Everybody got it? So we're going to learn about that. I cannot read that print right there. Well, here we go. Actually, I can. The first celebration of the Passover was the night before Israel left Egypt. Okay? God used the sacrifice of the Passover lamb to save his people. By eating the lamb and marking their doors with its blood, the Israelites were protected from the 10th plague. All right? So they had to have a sacrifice. All right? We talked about the sacrifice. Does everybody remember the sacrifice? Everybody awake? Everybody know what's going on? Everybody awake? Can you guys talk? Yeah? No? You can't talk? I bet you can. You talked last week. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You talked last week. Okay, so now we're going to keep going, all right? What is it? Am I going to have to separate you two?
No.
Okay, all right. You better watch it. All right. God told the Israelites to celebrate the Passover every year so that they would remember how God saved them from slavery and death. For this reason, the Passover sacrifice and feast was one of the most important days of the year of God's people. Okay. Oh, there was another word we should have learned back there. It's in red in my book too. Israel. Okay. Israel. Israel is... Trinity, read what it says about Israel right here.
A nation that God chose to be his people, to be his chosen people.
That's right. Okay. We'll get more into who all the Israelites were as we go on, because we're going to learn about the 10 tribes of Israel and all this stuff like that too. We're going to learn about that, but that's for another time. But the Israelites, okay, all right. What's this? Kayla went to the bathroom. She better be hurrying up. Come on, hurry up. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. She's good like that. Okay. Israel was the nation that God chose to be his people. Now, we live in a nation, right? Does everybody know what a nation is? A country? Okay. We live in the United States, right? This is our country. But we're not necessarily all the same people, and that's okay, because America is what's called a melting pot. But the Israelites all were in the same tribe of people, okay? They're basically all related, okay? They all, if you go back far enough, they had the same, like, father and mother, so they're all related, okay? But they were chosen as God's people, okay? And God was going to protect them. All right? Which is when they were enslaved, he had to try to get them out of slavery into what's called the Promised Land, which we'll learn about another time. So, when we say the Israelites, it's the nation of Israel. Okay? And the nation of Israel still exists today. Okay? All right, girls. I can't be talking and be heard by everybody else if you guys are over here all chattering, okay? So let's keep it down. All right? Or I will separate you. Okay? All right. Now, after Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt, the people got very hungry in the desert. So God gave them bread from heaven to eat. In the morning, the Israelites found small white flakes on the ground. They called it manna, which meant, what is it? Think about that. They named it a question. What is it? Because they didn't know what it was. They'd never seen it before. Yes, ma'am.
Snow?
Well, no, but I would have probably thought it was snow. White flakes on the ground in the morning? Sounds like snow to me, doesn't it? But they didn't know what it was. But they could eat it. So, they could eat it. All right. they called it, what is it in their language? Because they had because they had never seen anything like it before. The Israelites spent 40 years in the desert. God fed them with manna for that whole time. Now, 40, how old are you? You're 8. You're 12. You're 12. How old are you? No. 7? 8? Okay. Now, you guys 7, 8, 9 years old. 7, 8, 9 years old. Okay. Remember we talked about before last week too about the Israelites were in the desert for 40 years. That's a long time. Okay. I'm 43. Okay. I can't imagine walking from one country to another for 40 years. Okay. In a desert, no less. Has anybody ever seen a desert? Anybody ever been to a desert? You've been to a desert? Yeah. It's not a very fun place sometimes, is it? No. It's very dry, very hot, not a lot of stuff to eat, lots of bugs and all these other things, not a lot of water. There can be. Oh, yeah. Can be. They're cactus. Well, maybe not necessarily in this desert, but there would have been some kind of plants like that. They probably did have camels. I'm sure they did. I'm sure at some point, you can only walk so far carrying, just wearing what you had on. You're eventually going to need things, so you got to have ways to carry it. Okay. But for 40 years, all right, those of you that are 8, okay, that's like almost 4 times how long you've been alive. They walked in the desert. It's 5 times. That's right. It's 5 times. Excuse me. My math is not good in my head this morning. 5 times. It's 5 times as long as you've been alive. Okay? 5 times as long as you've been alive. And some people were very, very young like you guys are. Some people were older and, an old man like me. I look old, don't I, with all this gray in my beard? Okay? Yes, ma'am?
You know how you said there's a spotless lamb like this?
We're not talking about that right now. Oh, the spotless lamb. Yes, we did talk about the spotless lamb. So that is, I guess you could say, for animal crackers, that would be a spotless lamb. Okay. All right. Let's pay attention. Okay. All right. Now, God gave there was no food. There was no way walking through the desert that they could grow food. Okay. They couldn't grow food. They only had so many animals they could take with them, and then they would have to eat the animals too. So their food was going to run out pretty quick. Okay. But God gave them food. He gave them bread from heaven. Okay. It's what's called manna. Can you read what manna is for me right here? Can you read that for me, Ronnie?
The bread from heaven that God gave to the
Israelites?
Israelites.
That's right. When they woke up in the morning, this bread was on the ground. All they had to do was go out and pick it up. Okay? And that's what they ate. God gave them manna every day while they were walking through the desert. Could you imagine eating the exact same thing every single day? Get kind of boring, wouldn't it? But if you didn't have anything to eat, there was nothing for you to eat, you'd be pretty happy to have that bread every day because it'd keep you alive, keep you strong, let you walk. Yes, ma'am.
But if there were cactuses in there and they had them on the shelf, they could deform cactus and then they could eat that.
Well, they could eat that. It doesn't say that was the only thing they ate, but God did feed them every day with that. Okay. So now we've got kind of something going on here, right? Let's think about this for just a second. They had to eat the lamb. Okay. They had to have a sacrifice, and then God gave them bread. All right, girls. Let's keep it down a little bit. Okay. What is the bread and communion that we take every Sunday? It's the body of Christ. Okay, see, we got something kind of going on here. We got kind of things are starting to kind of look similar. Okay, God gave the bread to the Israelites. God gives us bread in Mass, which becomes the body of Christ. Okay, kind of sees it. Yes, ma'am.
I can never pick them first.
Not right this second. Okay, but let's keep going.
Need something to wash my emerald crackers down.
Well, you shouldn't have drank your Capri Sun so fast. God loved his people, and he wanted to always be present to them in a special way. To show that he was with them, he led them on their journey by appearing as a pillar of cloud during the day and a pillar of fire at night. The pillar of cloud and fire never left the Israelites in the desert. Now, okay. We talked about signs earlier, right? I drew the stop sign. Okay. If you're out traveling from one place to another, you have different signs that kind of point you where to go. Okay. We all have, well, most everybody has, smartphones and things like that these days, and you have what's called GPS, right? This thing that you put in an address and it tells you how to get to where you're going, right? What if you didn't have any of that, but you didn't know where you were going? You could wander aimlessly in the desert. And if anybody's ever been to a desert and seen it, trust me, the longer you walk in it, everything keeps looking the same. It's all very, yes, Jenna.
Plus, I'm surprised that they didn't get a sandstorm.
Oh, they probably did. Doesn't say that they did, but I'm sure they did. But without something to tell you where you're going, okay, you won't necessarily know how to get there. Is everybody okay? You all right? Okay. So, God led them with a pillar of cloud. Now, who has ever heard of a pillar? And I'm not talking about a pillow said with a southern with a southern accent, a pillar, but a pillar, not a pillow. A pillar. What's a pillar? No, not a caterpillar. What's a pillar? A column, right? It's a column. All right. A lot of times, a column will hold up something else. Okay. This is what we're talking about right here. Okay. But now there's nothing for it to hold up. All right. So there was just this cloud coming up in front of the Israelites. And if they walked toward it, it would lead them. And during the day, it was a cloud. Okay. At night, they couldn't see a cloud, so it became a pillar of fire. Could you imagine that? Having this great big fire out burning in front of you, and there's nothing really burning? But that's what led the Israelites to the desert, and it never left them. And it was God's way of letting the Israelites know that he was with them. Okay? So that's what that was talking about. But okay. All right. Yes, I'm sure there is. It's okay. God told Moses to build a tabernacle to be God's dwelling place. The tabernacle was a large, beautiful tent. When the Israelites finished building the tabernacle, the pillar of cloud covered it to show that the presence of God was there. Now, we also have a tabernacle in our church, and God dwells there. Okay, but the tabernacle in this case was a great big tent. All right. Now it's not just okay. How many of you have ever gone camping? How many of you have ever gone camping? Okay. And did anybody camp in a tent or did you camp in a camper? Tent? Camped in a tent? Okay. That's the way we camp. That's the way Miss Gina's family too camps. They always use a tent. Okay. There's 6 people in my family and we all cram in this tent. Granted, it's a pretty good sized tent. It has to be to have 6 people in it. But we do have a tent for camping. But now it wasn't quite like a tent for camping. Okay. I'm sure it kind of looked like a tent and that sort of thing, like a normal style tent. But this was like a big tent. Okay. But it was just for God. It was a way so God could be there with them in the tabernacle. Okay. Now, I had to explain to me one time about this tent, and the reason why I'm going to tell you about this, guys, right now, it's a little bit not off the topic, but remember in Mass when we say, "Holy, holy, holy Lord, God of power and might, blessed is He." Okay, this goes to that. All right, the tent for the tabernacle would look like this. Okay, Then also, the 12 tribes of Israel had their own little tents surrounding it. Okay. And then around that, they had another area marked off for that. Okay. Now, this area around here, or well, actually it would be more like this, really. Okay. This area was the holy area. Okay. And this area where the 12 tents were for the tribe of Judah was the holy, holy. And then the tabernacle where God would dwell would be the holy, holy, holy area. Sound familiar?
No.
Holy, holy, holy Lord. That's where that comes from. Okay. In Hebrew, they don't have plural words. Like I'd say we have a lot of kids in our class. You know, in ancient Hebrew, it would be we have a lot of kids, kid, to show we have a lot of something. Okay? All right? So, to make emphasis on a word, they would just repeat it. Okay? So you had a holy area, and when it was more holy, 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 even more holy, 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 holy. Sounds a little funny to us, doesn't it? Because our language doesn't work that way. Okay? But the tabernacle is, who was in the tabernacle? Who did we say was in the tabernacle? Well, Jesus is in our tabernacle, but this is there and there. You got to remember, Jesus hadn't come down from heaven yet. The Israelites didn't know who Jesus was. Okay? But God dwelled in the tabernacle for the Israelites. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. What? I love you too. Okay. The tabernacle was a place where God's people came to offer their sacrifices to Him. Sacrifice is an action that shows how much we love God. It's a symbol of giving something back to God for everything He has given us. Okay. Remember we talked about the spotless lamb, right? Okay, and that what a sacrifice was? Well, once they had the tabernacle, okay, they can now offer sacrifices to God. And that's where they did that. Okay? They offered their sacrifices in the tabernacle. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh, you had your hand up. Okay. In the Old Testament, does anybody know what the Old Testament is? Hang on, what did I do with it? What did I do with it? Got too much. Oh, here we go. What is this? It's a Bible, right? Okay. The Bible has two parts to it, doesn't it? It does have a lot of pages. But there's the Old Testament and the New Testament, right? Okay. The Old Testament was the scripture for the Hebrews, for the Jews. Remember we talked about the Jews? Who the Jews were? The Israelites. Okay. And today we have the New Testament as well. Has the Gospels, has all the letters in it that's written. We hear it every time we go to Mass. There's a reading from the Old Testament, from the New Testament, and the Gospel. Okay? But the Old Testament, when you hear the word Old Testament, they're talking about the Bible. They're talking about what's called Scripture. They're talking about the Bible. Okay? All right. So, in the Old Testament, God's people often sacrificed animals. They also offered Him sacrifices of bread and wine. Sometimes the whole sacrifice was burnt on the altar. This was a symbol of giving everything to God. Sometimes the people ate part of the sacrifice, like at the Passover. This was a symbol of sharing a family meal with God. There were sacrifices to ask for forgiveness from sins and sacrifices to say thank you to God. Okay. Now, what were the two sacrifices that they said were given? Two types of sacrifices. Animals and what? What did I just say?
Animals
And Jenna, what was the other one? It's on the page. You can read it right there.
I don't know.
Am I boring you guys this morning?
Yes. Animals, bread, and wine.
Bread and wine, right?
I was just going to look at that.
Uh-huh. You don't even have your book. You don't even have your book open. You need to have your book open so you can follow along. Okay. Bread and wine. Yes, sir. Oh, well, okay. I don't know if we're going to need them just yet, but we'll go ahead and have pencils if you want pencils. Does anybody else need a pencil? I don't think everybody else has got. You got a, oh, you didn't have a pencil either. You got. Oh, did you bring your own pencil? Yeah. I'm working on it. Yes, you do need your mask. 1, 2. Let's just do this. I don't know if these all got good erasers on them, but so next week we're going to have some activity pages and stuff to do, so it won't be so it won't be so much talking. Okay, I should have been better prepared, so but that's okay. That's okay. Oh yeah, you do, don't you? I thought I grabbed one for it. That doesn't have a good eraser. This one's got a good eraser. And it's barely got any lead coming out of it, but it'll do for now. Yes, sir. You broke? Oh, you break your pencil? That's okay. I think I got another one in here. Said you? Who broke? Oh, he broke it? Oh, you got two. Hey, you got two. I'll take the one you broke then. All right. Got it. All right. Now, Old Testament. Okay, bread and wine. Back to what I was talking about. Bread and wine. Okay. All the sacrifices weren't animals, right? Obviously. But they did have sacrifices of bread and wine. Now, where else do we see that? When we go to church, right? Our sacrifice is done in the form of bread and wine, which is the body and blood of Christ. I know I'm boring you guys to tears, but let's see here. Okay. But now we're going to talk about sacrifices for us. What are some things that we could sacrifice for God? Does anybody have any idea what we could sacrifice for God?
Our sins.
Well, no, we don't sacrifice our sins. We do confess our sins. But what is something we could sacrifice for God? What?
We can sacrifice a spotless lamb.
We could do that, but we don't have to do that anymore. Okay, we have our spotless lamb. Does anybody know who our spotless lamb is? Who's our spotless lamb?
God.
Well, yes, but who is our spotless lamb? Jesus, exactly. Everybody, I want you everybody to look right back there. Okay. What is that?
Fuller her.
No, up the cross up there, the crucifix. Okay, look. Can everybody see it? Okay. That is Jesus. What is happening right there?
He's getting crucified.
He's getting crucified. Now, did Jesus do anything wrong? No. He didn't do anything wrong. He was perfect, right? He's God. He's God, right? That's right. He's God, right? Jesus is God, right? Can we all agree with that? Jesus is God? Okay. But what happened to him? He got crucified. What does that mean? He died, right? Okay. Now, he got nailed to a cross. Now, let's think about, all right, we're going to talk about that for just 1 second. I know you guys are a little young, but I want you guys to understand something. He got nailed to a cross. Now, how many of you have ever seen a nail? Everybody should be able to say their hand. Everybody's seen a nail.
My dad's nails were not that sharp.
Right. They're probably not that big either. Probably about the biggest nail you're going to see when you go to a hardware store is a nail probably about as big around as this pen. Maybe a little bit bigger.
I've seen a nail. I have nails on my hands.
Not those kind of nails. Not those kind of nails. But about this big, right? Okay. Imagine if they had nails about this big.
Oh, that would be terrible.
Or bigger.
That would be terrible.
That'd be terrible. Right.
It would be bad if they
Imagine if they were about that long.
No room. That's
Okay.
what I'm showing you.
Now look at his hands. Can everybody see his hands? I know it's kind of hard to see. It's small. I know it's kind of hard to see. Can everybody see his hands? Okay. Nails were placed here. In his hands. In his hands. Well, there it shows in the palm, but some argue and believe that they may have been actually right here in the very bottom of his hand. Right? Because it would have been hard to hold up a person, but you normally see it like this in his hands. Now look at his feet. Look at his feet. Okay? His feet were placed one over top of the other one, and the nail was driven through his feet. Okay? Right, instead of his hand, with his hands and his feet. So they took nails and nailed him up there. Okay? And then they stood it up and dropped it into a hole so it would stand up. Okay? And he hung there. Okay? He hung there. Okay? Now he's nailed in with his feet so he could push up. But could you imagine trying to push and hold your body up with a big old nail in your foot? That would hurt, wouldn't it? That would hurt really, really, really bad. Okay. Hold on. Oh yeah, that would definitely leave a pretty nasty mark. I can imagine. Say that one more time. Oh yeah, they did? Okay. But we talk about sacrifices, right? Jesus was sacrificed for us. But there's a difference. There is one big difference in Jesus' sacrifice and then to talk about the spotless lamb or even the bread and wine that was offered with the Israelites. Did that lamb have a choice? Did that lamb come over and say, hey, you know what? I'm spotless. I'm perfect. Why don't you just kill me? No. Jesus could have stopped all of it, but he didn't. He chose to be sacrificed. He knew what was going on. He knew exactly what was happening. Okay? And he did it for us. He chose to do it for us. Now let me ask you this question. Okay? You guys love your parents, right? Okay, Kayla, sit down. Sit down. You can get a hug later. You love your parents, you love your brothers and sisters and stuff like that, right? Okay. There's not much in this world you probably wouldn't do for your mom and dad or your brothers and sisters, right? Your family, right? There's not much that there's not much you wouldn't do. God loved us enough to die for us. We're all going to die one day. Everybody is going to die one day. It's just part of being alive. Okay? Excuse me? Excuse me? Are y'all paying attention? Okay. Part of being alive, okay, is the fact that one day we're going to die. Okay? It's just, you can't escape it. Can't get away from it. It's going to happen. Okay? But God loved us so much that he was willing to be that sacrifice for us. Okay? And in his sacrifice, okay, it gave us a way to receive grace. Because in his death is now a sacrament. Okay? All right? Which is why we're in the class. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I was riding my bike, and then I don't know what happened, but I fell and I scraped my knee really bad.
Okay. Okay. But when we talk about sacrifices, that's not the only sacrifice we can do. Okay. All right. We can also sacrifice things for God. All right. Now, is it like that? No, it's not like that. But there are things that we can do to show God that we love Him. Remember what I said last week? That it's not so much to just be able to believe in God. You have to do what you're supposed to do. Okay? That's okay.
You have to learn to love Him.
You have, yeah, well, yes, you have to learn to love Him, yes, which is why we're in the class, why we're learning things. But it's not just enough to go, well, you know what? Yeah, there's a God. Yeah, He exists. Oh, yeah, there's a God. He did that, and that's great. That's wonderful. But God asks things of us, right? He asks us to do His will, okay, which means do the things He wants us to do, which is being nice to people. It can be as simple as being nice to people, okay? Another thing we can do is pray for other people, okay?
We have died.
Well, you can pray for people who have died, but you can also pray for people who are alive, right? Pray for your mom and your dad.
I can pray to my cousin Oakley.
You pray for your cousin Oakley, not to your cousin Oakley, but for your cousin Oakley. Yes. Okay, we have a cousin that's she's only about 2 months old and she's pretty sick. So, but she's in the hospital. She's been in the hospital her whole life. So, but anyway, she will. Hopefully, she'll get out of the hospital one day. But there are other sacrifices that we can do. What's something we could sacrifice to show God that we love Him? What's something who in here gets an allowance? Does anybody get an allowance? Like your parents give you a little bit of money to be able to buy something that you want? You get an allowance? You get an allowance? Okay.
Sometimes a birthday card I do.
Kayla, pick up your pencil, pick up your paper. Okay. Okay. What's a sacrifice that you can make with your allowance?
Daddy, that ain't my paper.
That's okay. Well, pick it up anyway. What's a sacrifice you could do with your allowance? You could take a little bit of it and give it to the poor, right? We have boxes in the church. You know, it says poor box. You could take $1 and drop it in the poor box. That's a sacrifice that you could do. Okay. Oh yeah, those are. I think that's a. What are those? I think those are like charity. Yeah, that's what. Yeah, to put change in and stuff like that to give to right, and other stuff to give to the poor. Right, to give to the poor. Okay. That's something we could do. What's something else we could do? Tell me something.
We have like some $100 bills and also you stack it up like this high. It equals up to $800,000.
That's a lot of money. Well, I'd like to have $10,000. I'd go buy a new car if I had $10,000.
Well, when I have $1 million, I'd get a lot.
Woo, that's good. That's something to think about. That's something. Oh yeah. And you can't hear him, can you? You can just hear me talking about it. Say that one more time. Just talk. You're okay.
So what are you going to do if you have a bunch of money?
I'm from a private jet.
A private jet?
Mhm.
You gonna learn to fly that private jet?
Mhm.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about.
I have something to say.
What? Yes.
Learn to love God.
Learn to love God. We do need to learn to love God, right? We do, right? Okay. Now, what do we talk about with sacraments? What does sacraments mean? What does sacraments equal? Settle down. Grace. And grace makes us what? Okay. Remember those things too. Sacraments give us grace, which makes us holy, which is what we're learning about. Okay. Page 10. Jesus replaced the sacrifice of the Old Testament with His sacrifice on the cross. But we still offer our own sacrifices to God by praying and doing good deeds. The most important way we offer sacrifice to God is by going to Mass, because this is where we celebrate Jesus' sacrifice for us in a very special way. Okay? That's on page 10, if everybody's not on page 10 already. Okay. Now, let's... Oh, I'm sorry. We got about 45 more minutes. Oh, hand to Miss Gina. Hand to Miss Gina. We'll pick it up. Just hang on to it. Yes. You may. Go ahead. Say again? I can't hear you. Take your mask off. Oh, go ahead. You can go and you can go. Okay. That's right. Jesus replaced the sacrifice of the Old Testament with his sacrifice on the cross, but we still offer our own sacrifices to God by praying and doing good deeds. Okay, does anybody know what are good deeds?
Doing good things for God.
Doing good things, right?
And doing good things for others.
And doing good things for others. Now, what's a good deed that you could do for somebody else? What's something you could do for somebody else? What's something you can do for somebody else? Okay. Does anybody have a neighbor that lives close by that might be a little bit older? You got a older lady or gentleman that live down close to you? Older lady? Hold on. You can say it in a second. Hold on. Okay. What about, let's say, that somebody goes and helps them with their groceries, like putting their groceries in their house, or helps them pick up their yard if there's like a lot of limbs and things like that could come off of trees. Or in the fall, when the leaves all fall off the trees and they're all in the yard, raking their yard for them. These are good. These are things we can do for other people. Okay. But that's also a sacrifice we could make for God to show that we are going to do good things for his people. Okay, which is now everybody. What, Jenna? I'll get back. I'll come back. That's right. Give food to the homeless. What's something else you could do?
Last year at Christmas, we have older neighbors around us. We gave them cookies for Christmas.
There you go. That's another very good thing that you can do.
Donate cash to
You
people who have no money.
That's right. Give to the poor. Yeah. Yeah. You can. You can go to the bathroom if you need to. Go ahead. Go. No, you're okay. Okay. But these are sacrifices we can make. Okay. God made the ultimate sacrifice. But these are also sacrifice. Now, I know we probably don't think about it this way, but saying a prayer for people can be a sacrifice. Okay? If we say our prayers, we could pray for... She doesn't remember where the bathroom... Okay. I thought she might remember where the bathroom was. We can say prayers for our friends, our family. We can say prayers for our neighbors. We can say prayers for people we don't even know. Yeah, go ahead. Okay. We can say prayers for people we don't even know. Okay. All right. Here's a good example. Here's a good example, actually. On our way here to church this morning, okay, right over here at this intersection just down the street. Everybody know where the little convenience store is down here on the corner where the traffic light is? The gas station, right? Okay. On our way to church this morning, we saw an accident. Okay. A fellow in a pickup truck was driving down 431, and I think it was a lady. That's what the guy at the service station said. I don't know. That's what he said. But somebody crossed over 431 and they ran the traffic light. They ran the red light. And that car hit that other car. Smack.
And a white car flipped.
And the white car that got hit flipped.
And there was this other semi-truck with the black flag.
Well, they were.
And there was this gray truck, and he got messed up too because
Yeah.
he had to stop really fast.
Oh, sorry. Was it not connected?
No, we can't hear.
Oh, we can't hear her? Okay. Say that one more time, Jenna.
So there was so while the white car got hit, on the other side of it there was this black semi truck holding a silver, not silver but gray truck, and then he had to stop really fast because he didn't want to get into the accident too, and it messed up the silver truck.
Now that other truck, the gray truck, was almost the tow truck going to take it away. So, but we don't know. But we don't know who those people. But back to the point, we don't know who those people are, right? Nobody in this room, I'm sure, knows who those people are. But what we can do, is can you get off? Can you swing back up off the table? Okay, because you're sitting there, you're rocking her table. So, but what we can do is we can say a prayer for all those people that are involved in that accident. Pray that they're okay, and that if they are injured, that they will get over their injuries very soon. We don't know who they are, do we? No. But we can still pray for them, and that's a sacrifice we can make. But what did it say here was another sacrifice that we can do every Sunday? What did it say? Flip over. Well, no, never mind. You're right there. That's right. You're right there. What was that last line? The most important way we offer sacrifice to God is by going to Mass, because this is where we celebrate Jesus' sacrifice in a very special way. Okay? All right? We celebrate Jesus' sacrifice every Sunday, actually every day in the Mass. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sure your mom will get you another one. Okay. Oh, yes, ma'am. Go ahead. Oh, sorry. Have it over here. I wish we might have to turn this a little bit so I can kind of see everybody a little bit better. That was the one advantage having down there I could see, but it was just back and forth. It wasn't going to work. Okay. But when we go to Mass, that's a sacrifice that we make. I know it probably don't seem like much of a sacrifice, but it is. Think about it. Granted, it's only an hour on Sunday. It's an hour. Well, and PSR too, for as long as that goes on. But we have to get up, get dressed, hopefully eat breakfast before you come. Oh, we got to do this morning, finally. Hold on. I'll come back. Hold on. We come to church and we worship God. Okay? Now, I know none of you can drive. Okay? None of you can drive. So it's not like you can get yourselves up and go. Okay? But your parents, all right, you two. But your parents have to get you up. They have to bring you here. Okay? They bring themselves here. Okay? But they could just stay home. There's nothing making them go. But that is a sacrifice we can make. And when we sacrifice that time, okay, we do that to show God that we love Him. Okay? And it's a sacrifice because God gives us so much. I think we can at the very least give Him an hour on Sunday. Or Saturday. Like we generally tend to go to Mass on Saturday. Yes, ma'am. You want class? I'm sure everybody else does too. But it won't be much longer. Okay? All right? But this is a sacrifice. Okay? It's a sacrifice we can make. Okay. Let's see here. Yes, ma'am. Yes, Ann. Go ahead. Go right ahead. Go ahead. Can you get out? Yeah. We gotta figure something. We might have to move those. Yes, we'll have to slide these back a little bit. We can fix that afterwards. Okay. Let's see here. All right. Well, we're going to go over one more page, and then we're going to. Yeah. Go ahead. Well, yeah, you can go ahead. Go ahead. You know where it is. All right. We're going to go over one more page, and we're going to be done for the day, and then we'll try to finish our coloring sheets if everybody finished last week. Oh, all right, settle down. Oh, that got her excited. We're going to get to color. Okay, the Passover Seder meal. It's on page 11. Okay. Anybody ever heard of a Seder meal? Okay, girls. You ever heard of a Seder meal? What's a Seder meal? Does anybody know what a Seder meal is? It's actually very interesting. If you've never been to one, and you get a chance to go, it's actually very neat. Okay. What a Seder meal is, the Passover meal is called the Seder meal, which means order. There is a special order to the prayers and the food eaten during the meal. This order teaches us about how God saved His people at the first Passover. Okay? That is the meal that the Israelites ate when they were leaving Egypt. Remember? We talked about that last week. We saw the page where they painted the blood on the door with the paintbrush, and they used the blood of the lamb, but they had to do what to the lamb too? It wasn't just enough to have the blood, though. What else do they have to do with the? Well, yes, but what else do they have to do with it?
Sacrifice it.
Well, yes.
And eat it.
And eat it. Right. They had to eat it. It was a meal. Okay. When you guys sit down and have a meal, you generally tend to have probably at least one meat and like vegetables and things like that to go with it, right? Most times. Sometimes you have just vegetables, but a lot of times you have meat as well. Okay. So this was a meal that they had to eat, right? Okay. It wasn't enough just to have the blood. They had to eat the lamb as well. And they had to eat it in clothes that they were getting ready to leave in. Remember? Because we said they were going to eat this meal. The angel was going to pass over, and then they were going to leave. They were getting out of there, right? So they had to do things in a particular order. All right, God gave them particular ways to do things. That's what the Seder meal does. It tells them how they ate the meal and how God saved them from that plague. All right. One of the most important parts of the Seder meal is when a child asks, "Why is this night different from all other nights?" The father answers the question by retelling the story how God saved the Israelites from Egypt. They did this every single year, okay? Every single year it would be what's called the anniversary of Passover. They did this every single year, and they did it to remember, okay? They did it to remember. Remembering is not always just, okay, yeah, I know that happened from a long time ago. Okay, that happened a long time ago. But I know that happened. And I know that it happened in like Christmas every year. Christmas is always December 25th, right?
Because it went down in history.
Well, yes, it went down in history. But Christmas is always December 25th. We remember that Christmas is December 25th, right? But it's more than just remembering that it's December 25th, that we know it in our mind that it's December 25th. What else do we do at Christmas time? Say, what? What? I can't hear him anyway. What else do we do at Christmas time? What else do we do at Christmas time?
Spend time with our family.
Spend time with our family. What else do we do at Christmas time? What? What else we do? What else we do at Christmas time? What else we do at Christmas time?
Pray for God.
Yes.
Play in the snow.
If we have snow, hopefully we'll have snow. What else we do?
Build a snowman.
But that's in the wintertime. What else we do at Christmas time? For Christmas. On's over here. Over here. Just what else we do?
Decorations.
Decorations. That's one thing we do. I'm coming back to you. What else? What's another thing we do?
We celebrate Jesus' birthday.
We celebrate Jesus' birthday. What else?
I was going to say that.
He stole your answer. But what else is something we do? We have presents. We have, decorations. We have a Christmas tree, hopefully,
Eat gingerbread, people.
And but it's more than just remembering that Jesus' birthday is December 25th. Christmas dinner. Right. That's another thing we do. What else is something we do? Well, turkey's Thanksgiving, but some people have turkey at Christmas.
And Christmas is going to be my birthday.
Oh, you're born on Christmas? Oh, you're a Christmas. All right, Christmas baby. That's it. What else? Yes, ma'am.
I'm not talking.
You're not okay. You're not talking. What's that?
My birthday's going to be next month.
Take your mask off. I can't hear you. I know you're supposed to have it off. I can't hear you.
My birthday's going to be next month.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. But we do. But what I'm trying to say is, it's more than just knowing that December 25th is the day we celebrate Jesus' birth. Okay? It's more than just knowing it. Okay? When you remember something, like we're talking like this, all right, settle down, girls. Settle down. It's more than just remembering. Okay? There are things that we do, okay, to celebrate that. All right? It's more than just knowing it. Okay? Remember last week I said it's more than just knowing that God is real and that God did things for us. We have to do the things God wants us to do. Okay? We have to know and obey. All right? Remember what I said, like, if your parents asked you to clean your room and you didn't do it? Okay? You can get in trouble. We have to do these things, okay? Now, granted, you don't have to buy a Christmas tree to celebrate Christmas. You don't have to do it. It's nice, but you don't have to. But it's more than just remembering it in our minds, okay? More than just knowing it up here, all right? And that's the reason why the Israelites celebrated the Seder meal, because it's more than just knowing that God did these things for us. We have to remember it by our actions, okay? Because if we don't remember it and we don't do these things, it's going to get lost. There's a saying that you'll hear adults say, if you don't use it, you lose it. If you learn something, but you don't use what you've learned, you can forget it. You can forget.
This is my birthday.
After Christmas is your birthday? After Christmas is well, not right after Christmas. About a month after Christmas is my birthday. I'll be 44 years old on my birthday. Yep, our puppy's born on the same day. Yes, ma'am. I'm hang on just a second. Yes, ma'am.
His birthday comes in December 26th.
Oh, the day after Christmas?
Yeah, he's gonna turn 21 years old.
Oh, very cool. See, you're born on Christmas Day, right? Is that what you said? Christmas Day? See, your birthday gets lumped in with Christmas, right? Yeah. I got a cousin that's like that. And a good friend of mine in high school, his was like that. So you do your birthday party and Christmas, right?
My birthday's the first day of December.
Oh, okay. See, it's far enough away from Christmas. That's far enough. Okay. But we got to remember something. Yes, ma'am.
On Halloween, the baby will come out.
The what?
On Halloween, the baby will come out.
Oh, was that right? Okay. Halloween is coming up. A lot of candy. Okay, now listen. Do Christmas early? Yeah. The 15th. Oh, yeah. We used to go, a lot of, my wife's family all live in Michigan, so we used to do that too, but it's too risky to go to Michigan sometimes in the winter like that. It's too much snow. Way too much snow. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
After Halloween,
Okay. Yes, sir. I look like an old man. Hey, I can understand why people would say that. I understand that.
where we go, my grandma, she has a really big hill and it always snows a lot.
Oh, yeah.
We sled down there.
That's our...
I ran into a tree before.
ooh, that's not good. That's not good.
Have a white beard.
Your dad has a white beard? Okay.
He just works so hard.
That can have a lot to do with it.
And he's gonna get older.
You guys laugh at that. But let me tell you something. It's a good thing to get old. You know why? That means you're alive. It's a good thing to get old. Trust me, there's nothing wrong with getting older. There's nothing wrong with getting older. What's that? Old like your grandpa? There's nothing wrong with getting old. Yes, sweetie. It's over in just a little bit. Okay, we're going to wrap up class for today. But does everybody still have your coloring sheets from last week? No? Yes? Maybe? Sort of? Yes? No? No? Yes? Maybe? Kind of? Sort of? Almost nearly, but not quite hardly? Hey, you weren't with us last week. Would you like to color? Sure. All right. Okay. Do you want another one to color? Yeah, you took yours home with you, didn't you? Yeah, you took yours home with you. Now, this picture we're looking at right here, this was a little Israelite boy. You didn't finish it? Do you have it is it there? Things got moved around. I think some of the pictures kind of got moved, but that's okay. We got plenty. That's okay. We got plenty. All right. Come grab the crayons and make sure everybody has crayons, okay? Now, I didn't say you. I didn't say you. No, I told her. She wanted to go get snack earlier and she couldn't, so she gets going to do that. You still have yours, right? Is this yours? That's Dave. Oh, here. Here's David's. Here's David's. Here's David's. Things got all. You were done. We're done. We're done. We're done for the day. We're done for the day.